Okay, everyone, I'm going to talk about a very controversial and hot button topic, which is the two state solution for the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. The first thing to know about the Palestinians is they are not a separate ethnic group from Arabs in general. They are Arabs, they just happen to live in Gaza and the West Bank. Some Palestinians, we call them Palestinians because after World War One, the area known as Palestine was under British control. Prior to that, it was under Ottoman control. It's been under Roman control. It's been under Mamluk control. It's been under all kinds of different empires, Byzantine control. It's been a lot of different empires to control that land over the millennia. During the Roman era, it was known as Judea, by the way. So, the if you are in polite company and you're talking to educated, intelligent people, and this topic comes up, everyone says the same thing, which is, well, we need a two-state solution. You have Israel and you have a Palestinian state, and then we'll have peace and prosperity and everything will be fine. If you find yourself in a position where this topic comes up, that is 100% what you should say. If you say that, everybody will agree with you. They will think you are intelligent, you are educated, you are nuanced, you are compassionate, you are fair. You will get positive social reaction for this. You should not, under any circumstances, say anything else. Now, this is not a joke when I'm saying, I mean this seriously. My opinion, your opinion, nearly 99.9% of the world's opinion makes absolutely no difference to the issue itself. It does, however, matter in terms of how people treat us. So I recommend giving the socially acceptable answer so that you are treated politely and courteously and nicely by other people, because that is the only reaction that you will get by giving the right answer. If you do not give a socially acceptable answer, you'll get a lot of negative feedback. People will be mad at you, they'll hold it against you, and nothing on the ground in Israel or in Gaza will have changed. So I do mean it sincerely when I say that is the answer you should always give. Now let me talk about the reality on the ground. The reality is there's not going to be a two-state solution. Good idea, bad idea, doesn't make any difference. It's not going to happen. Now you can debate the merits of the idea in the comment section. Feel free. By all means, I always encourage people to disagree with me. Tell me what you think I got wrong. Fact check me. Go for it in the comment section. But again, even if it's the best idea in the history of good ideas, it's still never going to happen. And the primary reason is that there's not any real desire for it on the part of the Palestinians. There's not a lot of desire for it on the part of the Israelis. They're willing to accept it because they have other concerns. But there is, on the part of the Palestinians, they're just not going to do it. How do I know? Because it has been offered to them repeatedly over the last 90 years, and they have consistently refused it. The first time was made in I want to say it was 1937. And they were offered a deal through the British that would have resulted in the Arabs in the area controlling 75% of the land and the Jews controlling 25% of the land. And they refused it. By the way, if you look at that area now, the Jews control 75% and the Arabs control 25%. Perhaps it was not a great idea to refuse that offer. But that was the 1930s. There have been additional offers since then. In 1947, there was the UN partition plan, which resulted in the Jews having around 45% of the land and the Arabs having the 55-60% of the land. The Arabs, the Palestinians, refused that. After the Six-Day War, there was the Khartoum Resolution, which also would have created two states. That was also refused by the Palestinians. In 2000, there was the Camp David Summit. You may remember that the Clinton administration spent a couple of years working toward that. They twisted Israel's arm as hard as they could and got ring concession after concession out of the Israelis. And right when it seemed it was time to sign on the dotted line and there would be a de facto Palestinian state under control of the PLA and Yasser Arafat, Arafat stormed out and declared an intifada. Because at the end of the day, he did not want to have to run a legitimate government. He wanted to run a terrorist organization. And I mean that really. He could have had a government, and he didn't want to do that. There was an offer in 2001 at the Taba Summit, which was also rejected by the Palestinians. There was the Olmert Plan, which would have resulted in another de facto Palestinian state in 2008. That was also refused. Trump put out a plan in 2020, which would have put East Jerusalem under Palestinian control and offered $50 billion. He tried to just buy it, paid for by the government, of course, not by Trump himself. And the Palestinians rejected that as well. You may remember during the last few years of war, the Biden administration repeatedly pressed Israel to get them to make various concessions to make peace offers to Hamas, all of which have been rejected by Hamas. What Hamas has essentially demanded is that the Israelis surrender in the war it's the best way I can think to describe it. If you look at the specifics, several hundred Hamas prisoners for the release of a single hostage. The Israelis have to pull all their military forces out of Gaza. They have to end all surveillance of Gaza. They can have no drone flights, no observation, anything like that. They have to take down the walls that have been built around Gaza, all that other kind of stuff. Basically, it's indistinguishable from Israel just completely losing the war. So they have refused and refused and refused. But the point of this is, if we add in 1937, 1947, 1967, 2000, 2001, 2008, 2020, it's at least 7 times the two-state solution has been on the table, and every single time the Palestinians have said no. Every single time the Israelis have said yes. They frequently did not want to say yes. They often only said yes under intense international pressure, and oftentimes under threat of sanction and things like that, because they didn't really want to do it. I'm not trying to say Israel's been, dying to offer them all this stuff. They haven't. But all 7 times the Palestinians rejected it. There's not going to be a two-state solution. It doesn't matter how good the idea is. It doesn't matter how much you want it. It doesn't matter how much the college kids at Columbia want it. The Palestinians don't want it. By the way, you should know that about 2 years before the October 7th attacks, Netanyahu wanted to try to... He really didn't see Gaza as the problem. He really saw the West Bank. By the way, Gaza is under the control of Hamas. West Bank's under control of the PA, the Palestinian Authority. Those two groups hate each other, by the way. You notice the PA has not come to the assistance of Hamas at all in this war, nor will they. They want Israel to wipe out Hamas because they hate Hamas. The whole solidarity thing, that's very big for, affluent, educated white people in the West. It's not that big for the Palestinians. How we perceive it and how they perceive it are very different things. But in 2021, Netanyahu went to Hamas and said, hey, why don't we start easing up on some of the economic restrictions? Why don't we start allowing more passage from people living in Gaza, coming into Israel to work and get jobs and sell stuff, things like that. Because he thought, hey, these groups hate each other so much, I can basically split them permanently so I never have to worry about them working together by creating more economic integration with Gaza, because Gaza's smaller, it's weaker, it's poorer. This is one they described as an open air prison. And the idea being that it really wasn't the threat. And at that point, he figured Mossad had completely penetrated Hamas and they weren't going to do anything that he wasn't going to know about anyway. So there really wasn't much of a threat there. So he goes to Hamas in 2021 and starts trying to actually work an economic, effectively a trade, not really a trade deal, but an economic deal with them. The idea being that he would permanently peel Gaza away from West Bank so that he could more isolate the PA and West Bank. And at first it seemed like Hamas was kind of interested in this. And then, they kind of cooled off and ended up not going anywhere. And then October 7th happens. So realize that 2 years prior to October 7th, the Netanyahu government was talking to Hamas about how can we open the doors a little wider between Gaza and Israel, have more economic integration, have more economic cooperation, let more people leave Gaza, enter Israel, work, sell stuff, buy stuff, things like that. And the result was October 7th. By the way, I'll point out the leadership of Hamas has repeatedly stated that it is their intention to die in jihad against Israel and or the United States. They have never stated it is their intention to create a independent, democratic, prosperous Gaza that coexists peacefully with Israel. Again, that is an idea that, frankly, white people in the West come up with. It's not an idea that comes from Gaza. We put what we think they would want on it, and then we just assume that that's what they want, even though that's not what they say. So my point of all this is, if you're in polite conversation, you should absolutely support the two-state solution. That is the correct answer. It will get you all the proper social benefits. And I mean that sincerely. You would be a fool to say anything else. But I want to be clear, it's never going to happen, at least not in my lifetime. There is nothing on the horizon to suggest a two-state solution is coming. It has been tried. It has been tried again. It has been tried a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, a sixth time, and a seventh time. And every single time it's been rejected. All right. Bye-bye.